Here's a hot take. The guitar is actually the least important part in getting a good guitar tone. And I say that because I believe there is a good guitar tone within every single guitar. And it's everywhere else in the signal chain that has the most impact on taking a mediocre tone to great. And today we're running down a whole host of tricks, tips, and tone secrets. The strings themselves are the first point of contact, and I'm always trying to use the thickest strings possible. I find thicker strings tend to sound bigger, richer, tighter, whereas lighter strings tend to sound thin and flappy. The flip side of this is thicker strings tend to be harder to play. My happy medium is 10 or 11 gauge. To demonstrate the difference in tone, let me play you the same thing on super thin strings and then on my normal strings. Besides strings, we have the pickup configuration, easy enough to experiment with that. But the one thing that I think people gloss over are these knobs here. Typically, you roll them all the way up and leave them, right? But there's some nuance here worth exploring that can have a dramatic impact on your sound. How much of your guitar you send out using the volume knobs is going to impact how your overdrives react later in the signal. I'm going to play some stuff for you with the same intensity, but listen to how the overdrive changes as I send more and less guitar signal into it. From there we have the tone knob, and this one's easy, right? If you're playing anything besides jazz, just turn it all the way up. But again, you can actually get creative with this. A heavy fuzz sound with your tone rolled all the way up or all the way down are two completely different things. Now we got to talk about where tone ends and touch begins. See, you're always going to sound like you no matter what you play. All this gear stuff is just dressing that up. And people sometimes conflate the two. Things that they attribute to tone is really just the way that the musician's actually playing. And so much of what this comes down to is taking care of the playing side of things. And if you're looking for a simple, straightforward path to improvement, I made the Samurai Guitar Dojo with you in mind. I don't know about you, but I only have so much time in the day, and I get overwhelmed thinking about what I should actually work on with my few precious minutes on the guitar. In the dojo, I give you a path. Every week, we do a lesson on a single topic, something that you're going to be able to get under your fingers. If you're at that intermediate stage and you're looking to expand your vocabulary, learn new techniques, and just advance your understanding of the guitar, this is for you. There's a large backlog of lessons. You can start at the beginning, you can jump around to things you find interesting, or come join us at the most present lesson. And if you use the link in the description, you're not only going to get in half off $7.50 a month, but you're also going to gain access to all of my other courses as well as the monthly live Zoom hangouts. We've got lots of feedback of people saying stuff like, this has been the thing that's broken them out of their rut and got them progressing again. I'd love to see you over there. Use the link in the description. Anyways, let's get back to that tone journey. Next, we're moving down the signal chain and talking about guitar pedals. Pedals can seem intimidating, but don't worry, there's some simple concepts here that can have a huge impact on the way that you sound. I'm going to go through things in the order that my signal is following, and when it comes to order, there is no hard and fast rule. It's worth experimenting, but the way that I have it set up is a decent default position to start. First, we're hitting the EQ effects, wah, and then the equalizer preamp effect. The equalizer is one of my always-on subtle difference makers, and it basically allows you to get into the sonic spectrum of your guitar and turn up or down certain areas of that. A pedal like this gives me so many more options than the tone knob on my guitar, and what I tend to like is raising up the higher and lower frequencies ever so subtly and bringing down the mid-range. And you're going to notice that there's actually a lot of places within the signal chain that you can tweak the EQ. And I think of it like this. It's like seasoning when you're cooking. If you do it at a number of points throughout, everything starts working together and creates a richer, denser flavor than if you just did it at one point. And then next we hit the compressor. This is another one of my always-on pedals. And the super simple explanation here is it takes my low volume sounds and turns them up, and takes my high volume sounds and turns them down. And so everything is more compressed and even. I didn't always use a compressor, but once I got one and turned it on, I never turned it off. Let me demonstrate the impact that each one of these pedals has. And I'll note, I'll put up some affiliate links to this stuff in the description. If you want to pick them up or learn more, it always helps if you use my links. But from there, we move on to the gains, the distortions, the overdrives, and fuzzes. And here there's so much variety, such a different palette of sounds. Right now, what I'm gravitating towards is the Thorpe Gunshot and the JHS Bonsai. I use this guy for my heavier sounds, and then the lighter crunches come from the Bonsai. And what I've found especially valuable here is actually getting two of these pedals working together. Because to me, while a heavier drive is nice, I actually actually love the sound of the heavy drive then hitting the crunch pedal. Let me show you how this kind of thing sounds. Now, one note that I'm going to make about the gain stage is that, in my experience, a lot of people default to more gain than is necessary. You want it to sound big and powerful, right? But if you use too much distortion, it can take over the sound spectrum and things just end up sounding muddy. But of course, there is going to be an element of genre subjectivity here. Metal guys are going to approach this part of their sound very different than I'm going to. From there, we go into the modulations, the chorus, trems, that kind of thing. And I don't really think of these as tone pedals so much as they are bold effects that you bring in for a specific impact here and there. And then we wrap up with the environment effects, delay, reverb. These make it sound like you're in an artificial space. The delay pedal repeats my guitar signal and gives me a nice echoey effect. The reverb then recreates the sound of my guitar projecting around anything from a room to a massive cavern. And a tip with reverb is it's nice because it can hide some of the imperfections in your playing, but using too much of it just often ends up sounding kind of amateur. So let me show you the impact of these two pedals now. And this now brings us to the amp. And if I'm going to spend my money anywhere in the signal chain, for me, this is what matters most. Amps, like guitars, all kind of do their own thing, but unlike guitars, I find some amps just completely unusable. And when it comes to picking out an amp and getting the best sound that you can, I try to use the smallest amp possible. I like the sound when an amp is working hard, when it's turned up loud. And if your amp is just too powerful, you're never going to be able to push it to that level without blowing out your eardrums. Now, the one workaround for a bigger amp like this one is an attenuator box like this. Take your amp, plug it into this plugs into the speaker, and this sucks up some of the sound. So you can turn your amp up super loud, but what comes out of the speakers is a manageable volume. And when it comes to settings, I keep it super simple. I put them all right in the middle, twist the knob one way. Do I like that more? Twist it the other way. Do I like that more? Easy as that. And for a lot of players, this is kind of as far as you're going to need to go for your tone journey. But you might find yourself wondering, hey, how come I can't sound like my favorite recording? And that's because what comes out of your headphones still has a couple stages of processing that can have a fairly dramatic impact on what you hear. Next, we got to talk about capturing the sound that comes out of your amp. And to do that, we use microphones. And I will warn you, the world of microphones can get expensive and convoluted real quick. See, different microphones, just like amps, just like guitars, each have their own character and voice to them. But I like to keep things as simple as possible. I use a Sennheiser 421, an industry standard, for just about everything I do. But where you place a microphone in relation to the speaker can have a fairly dramatic impact on the tone. Check it out as I move it around. So clearly, there's a couple options here. I tend to find the center of the speaker and then go a couple inches over. But we can also start using multiple microphones. The idea being these multiple voices will complement each other. And so now with this setup, this microphone is capturing what's coming directly out of the amp. This mic is capturing a bit of the room. Listen to how they work together. I think my biggest tip here is that be aware there are diminishing returns. It's such a better use of your creative energy to get things roughed in, get recording, and make changes if there's problems than obsessing about trying to get it perfect before you even press record. We've now come to the final stage of our Guitar Tone's long journey, the digital processing. The signal from the microphone passes through an audio interface, and like everything else in our signal chain, this is going to color the sound as well. I use the Universal Audio X8P here. It sounds amazing, it's an investment, but it has everything that I would ever need in it. We're now in our audio software, and what you can do here has a night and day difference on your guitar sound. Now, people spend their entire careers on this side of things. That's not me, so I keep it super simple, but let me show you what I do to get guitar sounds that I like. First step is more EQ, more compression, and I'll be perfectly honest with you, I just use presets with an Isotope's Neutron 3 plugin with a couple tweaks here and there if necessary. From there, I'm adding in some more environment, reverb, maybe some delays too. And the thing that happens at this stage that has such a huge impact is you can have slightly different things happening within your reverb reverbs and delays on either side of the stereo spectrum, which now takes your guitar file from being a single mono source into being stereo, which really brings it to life. So let me play you a guitar track first completely dry, and then I'll slowly add in each one of these things and you can hear what it does. So that is everything that I'm doing from beginning to end to create what I would consider a good guitar tone for specific situations. And for other situations, I'm going to be tweaking these things along the way to create what I would consider a better fit. And with this, you've seen there are so many options at every step. It's easy to get overwhelmed. How do you know you're making the right decision? And I know I function a lot better when I either accept limitations or force them upon myself. I can only afford this, I only own this, or I'm just going to decide to use this and commit to it. I want to spend as little time as possible on gear decisions because that allows me to spend time on what really matters, which is the making of the music. And I guess my broader point with all this, gear is fun, gear is important. It's important to think about this stuff, but never forget what it's really doing. It is accentuating your guitar performance. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. That is how you get good guitar tone. And remember, when you use the link in the description to come join us over at the Samurai Guitar Dojo, you gain access to those weekly lessons, the entire backlog of lessons, all of my other courses, the monthly live hangouts for only $7.50 a month. Till next time, look after yourselves, look after each other, look after the planet, keep your guitar sounding good. I'm Samurai Guitarist, and I'll see you again soon.